Hello everyone, welcome back to Kahani Suno with Kabir and Sarah. I'm Kabir and this is Ghost of the Seas Part 2, The Warning. As always, this is an original story written by me. The copyright belongs to Kahani Suno. Please share the podcast, not the content. It helps us keep making these stories for you. And if you have ever thought about telling your own story on this platform, your original story in your own voice, the door is open. Come to www.kahanisuno.com and say hello. And we would genuinely love to hear from you. All right, no more waiting. Part 2 begins. A quick recap. Vijay is on the floor of that upstairs room. He has just experienced something he cannot explain. A vision, a connection, a window into the deep ocean, and something enormous moving within it. He's shaken, he's confused, and he's more convinced than ever that whatever has been appearing at the window of this town, it's not evil, it's not random. It is trying to say something. The question that ends part 1 is simple. What? Tonight we find out. So let's start from where we left the last time. Saturday. The community hall was fuller than Vijay had ever seen it. Word had gotten around, not just Kumar family's story and the others, but the fact that Vijay had had some kind of experience and that he had something to say. People had come from the far side of town. Old women who hadn't been to a Saturday meeting in years. Fishermen who normally spent Saturday evenings mending nets. Vijay stood up and told them everything. All of it. The two appearances, the anger in the eyes, the apology, the pressing of his hand to the glass, and then the vision, the deep water, the wave, the movement through the abyss. He said it plainly. He did not dress it up or soften it. When he finished, the hall was completely silent. Then a boy about 15 raised his hand. My grandfather, the boy said. He has something to say. He couldn't come tonight. He's very old and he's not well. But he asked me to say he knows this story. He heard it before. The hall stirred. Someone said we should go to him. And so they did. A group of perhaps 30 people walked through the night streets of the town to a small house near the old temple, where a very old man was sitting propped up in bed with a blanket across his lap and his eyes, which had once been sharp, still carrying something clear and steady in their depths. He listened to the account. He asked a few questions. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he said, I have heard this story. My grandfather told it to me, and his grandfather told it to him. This is not new. This has happened before. The room leaned in. In the old days, the old man said, the fishermen knew about it. Not everyone, but the oldest ones. The ones who had spent their whole lives watching the sea. They knew that sometimes when something great was coming, when the ocean was gathering itself for a calamity, things from the deep would come to the surface to warn the people on the shore, not to frighten, to warn. What kind of calamity? Someone asked. Many kinds. My grandfather remembered one time, I think it was around 1918 or 1919, when the Spanish flu came through this coast. Before it came, there were sightings, faces at windows, eyes in the dark. The people who understood knew to prepare. He paused. He was tiring. But the knowledge was lost, he said. People stopped believing. People started calling these things ghosts or evil spirits or hallucinations. The understanding was forgotten. And so, when it happened again, your families were frightened instead of warned. He looked at Vijay. What did you see in the water? In the vision? A wave, Vijay said. A very large wave. Something building in the deep. Something coming towards the shore. The old man nodded once, slowly. Then you must leave, he said, all of you, as soon as you can. Whatever is coming, it is close. Not everyone believed, of course not. A very old man in a sick bed retelling a story he had heard from his grandfather. A young man's vision during what was, let's be honest, an unusual psychological experience at 2 in the morning. A series of unexplained sightings that could, with enough willingness, be explained away. Vijay heard all the reasonable counter-arguments. He had made some of them himself in his own head in the small hours, but he had also seen the wave. He had felt it, not imagined, felt. The way you feel temperature or pressure or the proximity of something very large. There are things the body knows before mind does. And Vijay's body knew with the certainty that sat in his chest like a stone, that what he had felt in that vision was real. Still, he needed more. He went back to the Kumar's house for one final night. He left the window unlatched and sat in chair opposite it in the dark and waited. Just after midnight, the ice appeared. This time, this last time, there was no anger, no frustration, no urgency. The eyes at the window were simply present, looking at him with an expression that Vijay, looking back, would describe as something between recognition and farewell. He moved to the window. He looked at the face, because this time he could see more of it. It was not a human face, but it was not monstrous. It was round and pale, with something drawn on it that might have been the suggestion of cheeks, of a mouth, of features, the way a butterfly's wing sometimes carries marking that look almost like eyes. The actual eyes were the reality. Everything else was a kind of hint, a gesture toward a face, made by something that lived in the deep ocean and had come to the surface for the first time and was wearing its best approximation of a form that the land creature would not flee from. It blinked slowly, the rhythm of something that lives in water. Vijay pressed his hand to the glass. The connection came again, not an overwhelming this time, or not a vertiginous, steadier, as though whatever was on the other side had learned in the interim how to calibrate the flow. Through the membrane, he felt urgency, cold water, depth, the enormous, patient, inhuman care of something that was not trying to save humans, but it loved them in a human way. But because that was its nature, because the ocean itself was warning, and this creature was the ocean's messenger. The way a nerve impulse carries pain to the brain, this was a body's signal, the sea's signal, the planet's signal. So the ice said, without words, "Go now." Vijay took his hand from the glass. The eyes held the gaze for one more long moment. Then they descended. He could see the motion this time, downward, away, back through the darkness, toward the water, and were gone. Vijay stood at the window for a long time. The sea was dark and quiet. Somewhere out there in the deep, something was moving. Something the seismometers would pick up in a few days. Something that would travel at a speed of sound underwater, gathering and gathering until it hit the shelf and reared up and arrived. He picked up his phone and called Naveen Kumar. "We need to start moving people out," he said. "Tomorrow. It has to be tomorrow." Not everyone left willingly. Let's be honest about that. This was a fishing town full of stubborn people, full of people who had weathered storms before, who had seen their fathers and grandfathers weather storms, full of people with nets to mend and boats to maintain, and relatives who would think them ridiculous. But enough left, enough believed or half believed, which was sufficient to pick up children and elderly parents and a few essential things and move inland to relatives in Thrissur, to friends in Ernakulam, to temple rest houses up in the hills. The Kumars went first. Naveen picked the car with what mattered most: documents, medicines, the small locked box where Aruna kept her jewelry, and the children who were told to take one bag each and to choose well. Nina, wise, quiet, already perceptive Nina, put in her books, her sketchbook, her pencils, and the small conch shell she'd found on the beach 3 summers ago and kept on her windowsill. She took one last look at the window of her room, which was dark and ordinary in the morning light. "Goodbye," she said quietly to the room, or to whatever might be listening. Then she went downstairs and got into the car. Vijay left last. He stood on the boundary wall of the Kumar house and looked out at the sea. The water was the color of pewter, low waves and sky clear. Nothing to see, just the ordinary Arabian Sea doing what it had always done. He thought about what was under that surface, miles down, the unimaginable pressure, the cold and the dark, and the creatures that live there. Luminescent things, huge things, things that have evolved over hundreds of millions of years. In a world that has no light, things that may, in their own way, understand something about this planet that the creatures of the surface never will. He thought about the eyes. He thought, "Thank you." Then got onto his motorcycle and rode north. What came after? The tsunami struck on a Wednesday morning, 6 days after the final sighting. It had been generated by an undersea earthquake far out in the Arabian Sea. The kind that doesn't happen often in that region, but when it does, sends out waves that are undetectable in the open ocean. Just a slight swell, a few centimeters until they hit shallow waters, and the energy has nowhere to go but up. It came in 3 waves. The first was the largest. The town was not empty. Not everyone had believed, not everyone had left, but enough had. The community hall where the meetings had been held, where the story had been told, was destroyed. Naveen Kumar's house, the one that sat closest to the sea, had water running through it at waist height. The boundary wall came down, the garden was gone, but most of the people who had sat at the community hall on a Saturday night and heard the story of the eyes and believed it enough to act, they were safe. The disaster relief workers who came afterwards were puzzled by the relatively low casualties for a coastal town of that size. Someone had warned them. People said the old stories had come back. People had left in time. Who had warned them? The relief workers asked. People shrugged, looked at each other. didn't quite know how to begin. 3 months after the tsunami, when the town was beginning the long work of rebuilding, Vijay sat down and wrote everything he had learned. Not a ghost story, an account. So, there you have it, the ghost of the seas. You stay till the end. I told you it would be worth it. I want to leave you with one thought, one small thought to carry with you into whatever comes next. The rest of your evening, your night, your sleep. We live on the surface of a planet that is mostly ocean. The ocean is deep. What lives in its depth has been for hundreds of millions of years, longer, unimaginably longer than anything on land. The deep sea creatures have felt the trembling of tectonic plates since before there were any animals on land to feel anything at all. We build cities on coastlines we call the ocean scenery, and we forget that it is a world, a full, dense, inhabited world that has its own rules, its own timescales, its own ways of knowing things. We forget that when the ocean stirs, the entire column of water from the surface to the sea floor is involved. Every creature in it, everything that lives in the dark. And sometimes the story says, when something enormous is coming, when the ocean itself is about to speak in a way that the land cannot ignore, something rises. Something comes to the surface. Something looks through your window. And the question the story asks is not, was it a ghost? The question the story asks is, are we listening? If you enjoyed this, I hope you did. Please share the podcast with someone you think would love it. Or leave us a review if your platform allows it. And visit us at www.kahanisuno.com to explore more stories, to reach out, or to submit your own original work. We're always looking for the next great storyteller. Until then, take care of yourselves, sleep well, and if tonight you dream of deep water, don't be afraid, just listen. I'm Kabir. This has been Kahani Suno with Kabir and Sarah. Good night and thank you.